In today's video, Gavin Newsom is calling for people to show up to the No Kings protest this weekend. Also, Mamdani obliterated Andrew Cuomo in their debate, and you have to see the embarrassing apology from Jay Jones. In all these stories, we're going to show you what both sides are saying and then give you the bottom line.
Now, I agree with Police Commissioner Tisch in that we do not need the National Guard here in New York City. We do not need them for the purpose of safety, because if it was safety that President Trump was so concerned about, he would send them to the 8 out of 10 states that have the highest levels of crime in this country, but he won't, because they're all run by Republicans. What New Yorkers need is a mayor who can stand up to Donald Trump and actually deliver on that safety. When Donald Trump sent ICE agents on people in Los Angeles, Andrew Cuomo said that New Yorkers need not overreact. That is the furthest answer that New Yorkers are looking for. They are looking for someone who will lead, someone who will say that they will have their back, someone who will actually fight for the people of this city. And that's who I am, because I'm not funded by the same donors that gave us Donald Trump's second term, which isn't something that Andrew Cuomo can say.
Thank you, Mr. Mamdani.
Yeah, first the answer.
Okay, so if you guys want a bottom line summary of this New York City mayoral debate, you just heard it. I can't tell you how many times they said the words Donald Trump over and over and over again. It's really shameful. It's like watching the 2024 election campaign all over again. But I will say this, Zohran Mamdani absolutely obliterated all of them. There's no question he will be the next mayor. I think everybody already knew that. And why is it? And why do I say that? Well, it's because Andrew Cuomo represents the establishment in the past. And the Republican candidate, he's not really a bright spot on that stage either. And that's not being disrespectful. It's just the reality. Zohran Mamdani has the energy. He has the momentum. He has the youth. He's got the ideas. Although they will destroy New York City, doesn't matter. And that's what we saw on the debate stage tonight. Now, let's go to this next clip. This is about the problem in the city as far as housing is concerned. Take a look.
I built affordable housing all across this nation. I built affordable housing in this city when I was in my 20s. I know how to get it done. I will get it done on the rent stabilized units. What I'm saying is those are the precious units, and we should keep them for the most rent burden.
We have to move on. But I have a question for you.
No, sorry, he invoked me for much of that question. Just a very brief response here.
Very brief.
You know, you've heard it from Andrew Cuomo that the number one crisis in this city, the housing crisis, the answer is to evict my wife and I. He thinks you address this crisis by unleashing my landlord's ability to raise my rent. If you think that the problem in this city is that my rent is too low, vote for him. If you know the problem in this city is that your rent is too high, vote for me.
If I understand it correctly,
sons of millionaires.
That was another blow from Mamdani to Andrew Cuomo. And how do you fix the housing crisis of New York City? I don't know. I think New York City is a city like no other in this country. The solution, couldn't tell you. It's a monster over there. No question. The amount of people that live in that area, it's insane. But I will say this. Is raising taxes going to solve their problem? I don't believe that to be true either. I live in Texas now. They don't charge taxes. And the highways are clean. Crime is low. Services are available all over the place. And Texas have a lot of people living there. So, you know, and maybe that's not fair to compare, but I mean, I just came from California. They charge taxes, and there's a crime issue, a homeless issue, a housing issue, an education issue. So whatever ideas these people are offering New York City, it won't work. It will just destroy whatever made New York City great to begin with. Okay, let's go to this next clip. And this is Andrew Cuomo confronting Mamdani on whether or not he voted for Kamala Harris. He doesn't believe he did. Take a look.
You're not a Democrat, right? You're not a Democrat. You're a Democratic socialist.
We have
you didn't vote for Kamala Harris, right?
We have other ground to cover. We have other ground to cover.
That's an incendiary charge. I want to be very...
You may have a chance to address it, but we do.
I'll be very quick.
We have a lot of issues to get to with New Yorkers, Mr. Mamdani.
I'll be very quick.
You didn't say leave it blank in the Kamala
I'll be very
campaign?
Quick. I said leave it blank in the presidential primary, because primaries are a place to air dissent. And like many Americans, I was horrified by the Israeli genocide of Palestinians. And if you want to look for me on the ballot, you'll find me as the Democrat.
Mr. Mamdani.
Okay, listen, I don't know about you, but I'm not stupid. If he was a Democrat, he wouldn't be calling himself and allowing other people to call him, and he smiles when they do it, a democratic socialist. What does that even mean to begin with? This guy's a pure socialist, Marxist individual. Some people believe he rises to the level of a terrorist. Now, I'm not going to say all that, but if you're comparing him to Andrew Cuomo is a failed leader. There's no question about it. And he's not any good either. But if you're going to choose between Andrew Cuomo and Mamdani, outside looking in, of course, because I don't live in New York City, you would probably choose Andrew Cuomo. But if you lived in New York City and they've tried everything and you're not satisfied and this is your moment to rebel, you're going with Mamdani. That's the unfortunate part about everything here. Now, one more clip for you, and I found this to probably be the most troubling thing that I saw in this debate from a conservative point of view, from a Republican point of view. So the Republican candidate was up there on stage, and the moderator asked a simple question. Is there any circumstances, if you were mayor, that you would allow local police to work with the National Guard if it was deployed by President Trump? I think you know how this went. Take a look.
I'd like to see a show of hands. Are there any circumstances where any of you would allow the NYPD to cooperate with the National Guard if Trump sent them to New York? Show of hands. Yes? No takers. Okay.
Yeah, see, the interesting thing about that debate, it reminds me financially what's wrong with this country. You have to think about the interest rates at this point. You've got to think about how high inflation has become. And you also have to think about your financial future. You think people like Mamdani, Andrew Cuomo, these Democrats, even Republicans in some cases, you think they care about you? You think they care about your financial future, your retirement plan? Absolutely not. All you need to do is look at the results. What is the price of gold right now versus the value of the dollar? That's why I encourage you guys to reach out to Lyric Capital. It's exactly what I recommended my mother-in-law to do. She was worried about her money. She was worried about the cost of living. And she does live in California, by the way. And what she was going to do moving forward with her retirement. So she wanted to take matters into her own hands, and she wanted to speak to people that could be trusted. That is Lyric Capital. You want the education on how to take your hard-earned cash and put it into precious metals investing. Lyric Capital is the people to talk to. So the bottom line here for me is that with all this uncertainty, reach out to my friends at Lyric Capital so they can show you how gold or silver can help you. And right now, as a special, they're offering $20,000 bonus in gold or silver on a qualified purchase. All you have to do is call them at 1-800-920-8388. That number again is 1-800-920-8388. Or you could go to the link in the description below at leardevori.com. That wasn't the only debate from tonight. Jay Jones, the guy who wants to see his political opponent assassinated, including his children, well, he had a debate tonight as well, and here's how it started.
And you're also going to hear from my opponent about text messages that I sent that I deeply, deeply regret. Let me be very clear. I am ashamed. I am embarrassed. And I'm sorry. I am sorry to Speaker Gilbert. I'm sorry to his family. I'm sorry to my family. And I'm sorry to every single Virginian. I cannot take back what I said. But you have my word that I will always be accountable for my mistakes. And you also have my word that I will spend every waking moment fighting for you.
Yeah, the interesting thing is he said he would be held accountable for his mistakes. And he has been held accountable for what he said. No, he hasn't. Accountability looks like him dropping out of the race immediately. That didn't happen. Democrats don't hold people accountable unless it's their political opponents. And that's not even accountability. That's just vengeance, attack, political violence today. That's really what's going on. So Jay Jones is running to be the chief law enforcement officer in the state of Virginia. So I think the standard for him is a little higher versus if he was just running to be a representative in Congress. So his opponent, Jason here, had a phenomenal reaction to that. Take a listen.
If Jay Jones wants to fight the fights in Washington, he should run for Congress. But he's running for the wrong office. He's asking you to hire him to be the top prosecutor. And I have to make this observation. He keeps saying that he is sorry. Jay, if you're really sorry, you wouldn't be running. If you really understood the ramifications of what you said about an innocent mom and her children, you know Todd Gilbert. You've served with him. Jennifer would come to the General Assembly. She would bring her children. We would see them run in the hallways. They were 2 and 5 years old at the time. This wasn't a hypothetical. This wasn't some figure that you know from far away. You actually know Todd. This is a flesh and blood real husband. Jennifer is a real mom. These are real kids. How in the world could you ever show compassion and comfort a grieving mother that has ever lost a child to violence? Because, Virginians, there is no cry like the cry of a mother that has lost her child. A prosecutor knows this because they've stood in that courtroom. Jay Jones has never understood this because he's not a prosecutor. He's a politician trying to save his career.
Yeah, see, the unfortunate thing about Jay Jones's situation is the double standard that exists in politics today, really in our society. If a conservative Trump supporter had those text messages leaked, they'd still be talking about that 24/7, 365 on ABC News, CBS, NBC, MSDNC, CNN. They wouldn't let up. It'd be in all of the legacy media outlets. It would have been on the front page of magazines, front page of newspapers. That is the brutal reality of politics. For whatever it is, conservatives always face an uphill battle. Well, I'm not here to complain about it, but it's just pointing out the obvious that Jay Jones has it easy here. His party never condemned him and never called for him to be removed. They'd rather eat that because it means that they don't have to give in to President Trump. Oh, and speaking of President Trump, also had a candidate continuing to repeat his name.
Why should voters trust your judgment moving forward?
Well, look, Brett, I want to say one thing. Jason Miyares can't prosecute a case against Donald Trump, that's for sure. And I will also say this. I was held accountable by my party, and I deeply, deeply respect that. But what about when Donald Trump used incendiary language to incite a riot to try to overturn an election here in this country? What about when Winsome Sears used violent language about people who disagree with you and her and your extreme position on abortion? What about when John Reed shared Nazi porn? You haven't said a word. I've taken accountability for my mistakes. It's time you take accountability too.
And let me ask you this one more time, Delegate Jones, just so we're clear and the voters understand, why do you think they should trust your judgment based upon these two events that we've discussed?
I've taken accountability for my mistakes, and I know that people in Virginia right now demand and deserve leaders who accept when they make mistakes and can acknowledge that and have been held accountable. This job right now demands someone who will hold Donald Trump accountable. For the last 9 months, Jason's had 50 chances to sue the administration to protect us, to protect our workers, to protect our health care, to protect our K-12 funding for law enforcement. And his office hasn't done a thing because he's too weak and too scared to stand up to.
You know, from a mindset point of view, it's truly troubling. Yeah, it's really troubling to me. I don't know about you. You let me know your thinking in the comment section. Why is it that these politicians are so obsessed with saying Donald Trump's name? The guy said Donald Trump at least 5 times there in 60 seconds. Isn't that interesting? Why does everything have to be about Donald Trump? Well, it's the easy thing to do, and I also believe it's the lazy thing to do. And the true mistake here from a political strategist point of view, why are you guys continuing to try to run against Donald Trump? He's not on the ballot in 2028. But I think that is common sense, and for Democrats, that makes too much sense. It would require them to develop a new line of thinking, new habits, and shift to a different way of communicating their ideas. Right now, they're in the habit of saying Donald Trump's name repeatedly. So I don't think that's going to change for quite some time. We go to our next update, and that's about the No Kings protest that is this weekend. Gavin Newsom and Chuck Schumer are both sounding the alarm and looking to rally the troops, and they want a huge turnout. Here they are doing just that. Take a listen.
No kings, a declaration of independence against the tyranny, against lawlessness in the context that there was no rule of law. It was the rule of king. And I think increasingly people are waking up to the rule of law in this country, increasingly appearing to be the rule of Don. And I hope it's dawning on people how precious this moment is and what's at stake. And so I hope people put a stake in the ground, take the opportunity and time to participate this weekend, but again, do so peacefully with a deep realization of the consequences and what the founding fathers were all about.
You know, I don't know which one is more disturbing, what Gavin Newsom is saying or the fact that people believe it. There is no king that rules this country. It's just not possible. But that's not going to prevent people from believing that. Does that make sense? You know, Democrats have been very good at concocting this reality that doesn't exist in order to get the people to live in fear, because they know fear is what gets people to move or to vote. And Democrats have been masters at that in history, if you think about it. It's what they did to the black community. So anyways, I think this guy is going to run for president, no question. But he expects people to be peaceful this weekend. Yeah, give me a break. Here's Chuck Schumer doing the same thing. Take a look.
This weekend's No Kings rallies will be an affirmation about what America is all about. We are a democracy in America. We have no kings, despite the fact that Trump has even said he wants to become one and is acting in ways that are a threat to our democracy. And I say to my fellow citizens, do not let Donald Trump or Republicans intimidate you into silence. That's what they want to do. They're afraid of the truth. Republicans are going apoplectic because Americans are exercising their right to free speech. I say to Americans, show the world how much we love this country, how much we love our values, how much we love our democracy and want to preserve it. And don't be afraid. Trump and the Republicans want you to be afraid. They don't like free speech when it's free speech they don't want to hear. But we're not going to let them intimidate us. For weeks, Republicans have tried to vilify these rallies. They call them the most ridiculous of terms, hate America rallies. These are love America rallies. They call them terrorist rallies. That's just despicable. Do not let Donald Trump or Republicans intimidate you into silence. That is what they want. That is how dictators evolve, when good people of all different beliefs and backgrounds stay silent. No King's Day says we will not stay silent.
Yeah, see, the interesting thing about Gavin Newsom today and his announcement, including Chuck Schumer, is that California, once again, has been exposed for fraud. And at least we now have an answer on what happened to the billions of dollars that was spent on homelessness. You know what they did with it? There was a bunch of fraud schemes going on. And that's exactly what the DOJ announced today. Take a listen.
Today we are announcing significant developments into our investigation. We're making public 2 criminal cases relating to 2 separate real estate developers who were involved in misappropriating millions of state funds intended to combat homelessness. This morning, federal agents arrested Cody Holmes, a 31-year-old Beverly Hills resident and the former CFO of Shangri-La Industries, a downtown LA-based developer of affordable housing, for defrauding the Home Key program that is administered by the state of California. The program awarded grant money, which included federal tax dollars, for specific projects to convert motels into housing for the homeless and to operate the units. By April of 2022, Shangri-La Industries, where Holmes was the CFO, had co-applied with multiple California cities to convert numerous properties in California, including a location in Thousand Oaks. The state asked for proof that the company had the financial capacity to build all the projects. In response, Holmes and Shangri-La knowingly submitted fake bank statements which claimed to show that the developer had about $160 million on deposit. Not only were the bank statements fake, our investigation shows that Shangri-La and its affiliates had nowhere near the amount of money they claimed they had in the fake bank statements.
So in case you guys don't understand what's going on, for the longest time, people have been asking what happened to the $40 billion that was spent on homelessness. Well, this might be an idea. Real estate developers were receiving the grant money. We're supposed to be building homelessness or housing for the homeless. And I guess never got around to it. That's interesting. Now imagine what else is going on in California if this is happening. And in the context of crimes being committed, I would say that's up there, okay? Now, let's continue because they actually detail how much he actually stole. Take a listen.
The state agency ultimately paid nearly $26 million directly to the developer for the Thousand Oaks project. Even though the developer received all the money from the state, the developer did not complete the construction of the Thousand Oaks project. Instead, our investigation has showed that at least $2.2 million was diverted to pay Mr. Holmes's American Express bill, which includes purchases at luxury retailers. Essentially, he stole the money.
So maybe Gavin Newsom should focus on his own state, root out the corruption, and start doing what's right for the people of California. But I'm not too sure the people of California even want that. Because if you don't want that, you're going to keep voting for people like Gavin Newsom. That's why I say that. So why don't you guys give me your thoughts in the comment section below to what happened tonight. New York City mayoral debate, which was a total disaster. There was no reason to have it. If you needed any more proof that this race is already over, you just saw it. But give me your reaction to it. Then what did you make of Jay Jones's apology that he's sorry and he claims he was held accountable for his comments? I just haven't seen that accountability. Have you? Okay, I didn't think so. And Gavin Newsom calling for the troops to show up peacefully, he says. Well, we'll see what happens this weekend, right? Just give me all your thoughts and everything you got in the comment section below. Now, in our next video, which was breaking news earlier today, John Bolton has officially been indicted. That is correct. And he is facing 18 counts on espionage charges. So if you guys missed out on that update and more from earlier today, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.